So Columbus Day weekend is huge for tourism in New Hampshire. Not only is it a long weekend and a lot of people have work off, but it's also right around the time of peak foliage. So the whole state is so beautiful. The foliage is so good and it's perfect hiking weather. So naturally it attracts a lot of people. I was actually working all Columbus Day weekend, so I didn't really get a chance to leave the Lakes region at all or go on any hikes, but I did see what happened in the White Mountains on the internet, and I was just shocked with the pictures and the news articles that I was seeing. So as Taylor, the Nahamsha hiker, we're gonna chat a little bit about what happened in the hiking world in Nahamsha this past holiday weekend. Hello. Hi. Oh! Wow! How's it going? So this right here is the first photo that got my attention that was going viral online. This is the trail going up to Artist Bluff, which is in Franconia Ridge State Park. And it's a short, quick hike, but it has a really gorgeous view. So obviously it's very popular. The tourists love it. I love it as a local, but this right here is not safe. Like, there are so many people on trail, and as I was reading the comments, it says that people were shoving each other. They had to hike off trail to get around people. People were crying because it was just so many people. This hike does gain a lot of attention online. It's all over Pinterest and Instagram and TikTok. So it attracts a lot of people who are coming to the state just to leaf peep because they see this place online, they think it's the best, so they all go there. There were people in the comments debating how to fix this issue, and that's not my area of expertise. I don't know how to fix it. People were talking about reservations and like a lottery system or adjusting the parking lot, but I don't know what would work. I think people are still going to go there regardless. I did see that the GM of Franconia Ridge State Park was considering paid parking or timed entry, but that would have to go through New Hampshire legislator because it is a state park. I was reading some comments from people who were actually on this hike when all this was happening, saying that people were absolutely not dressed appropriately or have the right gear or anything because they were just there to take their photo. They were wearing high heels and short shorts and just like not dressed for the weather or the conditions, which is unsafe. That poses like a huge risk for them, for anyone who would potentially have to rescue them. The comments were interesting to read. Some were glad for the tourists because they help the economy. Some said that New Hampshire locals would know to stay home this weekend. Some can't blame the tourists for being here because it's just so beautiful. And then others reminded us that there are many other trails to hike. But on the bright side, as I was researching this trail and looking at all the posts about it from the weekend, I came across this post from these two people who went up to hike this trail the next morning at 6 a.m. to avoid the crowd, and they took the time out of their day to pick up trash. They were able to fill up 2 trash bags with empty plastic water bottles and candy wrappers or food wrappers and even dirty diapers. So that's awful that people were leaving that much trash on the trail, but amazing that these 2 people were out and helping with that. And they actually inspired me to take a trash bag on this hike today and see how much trash I can pick up, because Mount Major is a rather popular trail in this area. So I just wanted to give back and pick up trash. I've already found a couple pieces and it makes me feel good. So maybe me doing this can also inspire some of you guys watching to head out on your popular trails and see if you can clean them up a little bit. So I always recommend to anyone who's planning on doing any hiking in New Hampshire to get the New Hampshire Hike Safe card. It's $25 and the proceeds go to help New Hampshire Fish and Game and the rescue efforts that happen, unfortunately, in the White Mountains somewhat frequently. So it's a great way to support that because a lot of them are volunteers and the money really helps. On the card itself, it lists the 10 essentials that you should be packing when you're going out for a hike. These are items that will keep you safe if anything were to happen. And I believe if you have this card and you're not doing anything totally stupid or disrespectful and you need rescuing, you don't have to pay that fee. So I think it's good to have. I get mine every year. So one of the 10 essentials that you should always have with you is water, but sometimes water itself isn't enough. Sometimes you need the electrolytes to help replace what you're losing through your sweat. That's why I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Element, because they make the best electrolyte drink mix. You can take one of their packets and mix it in with a bottle of water, and you have everything you need to stay hydrated on the trail, and that's so important. Element has a science-backed formula of sodium, potassium, and magnesium to replace what you lose when you sweat. The weather may be a little colder now, but you still have to drink the water because you're still sweating and you're losing the sodium. If you don't replace that, you can get symptoms of dehydration, including muscle fatigue, weakness, headaches. So always on a hike, I drink Element, I stay hydrated, and it just gives me the energy I need to keep going. As always, you can head to my link, which is drinkelement.com/Nahamsha. Whether it's your first order or your 100th, if you use that link, you'll get a free sample pack included with your purchase. And that sample pack includes 8 different flavors for you to try. Again, drinklmnt.com/Nahamsha. I'm getting close to the summit of Mount Major right now, so I'm really excited to show you this view. So it was a quick little stop at the summit, but it was way too windy to vlog and I was starting to get a little cold. So went up there real quick. I'm already hiking back down, but as I hike down off this mountain, I want to share one of the rescues that happened in the Whites this past weekend. I read that there were up to 7 rescues that happened, but this one in particular stuck out because it was a woman hiking alone in her 30s, as I typically do. And I want to share this story not to shame anyone involved, because something's happened. Some injuries in rescues are unavoidable. Mistakes happen, you twist an ankle, you can't move. But I want to share this story just to share how rescues happen, how long it can take, and just how important it is to have the right gear, because these things are scary. So this woman in her 30s is hiking Franconia Ridge by herself. She's up on the ridge, she's above tree line, she is over 4 miles away from the trailhead, and she suffers a lower leg injury. She tried to hike out by herself, but it was just too bad. She couldn't move and she was stuck up on the ridge. She went to call 911, but her service was a little too spotty, so she couldn't get in contact with any sort of help. Luckily, someone did pass her on trail and they did have service, and they were able to call and report this accident and get in touch with the rescue service. This is why I recommend getting a Garmin InReach or any sort of satellite communicator if you're out hiking, especially by yourself, because if you don't have service and you're hurt, this is how you get in contact with a rescue. This is a very popular trail, so there was a very good chance that a hiker would hike past her and notice that she was hurt and get help. But if she was somewhere more remote, if it was later in the day and people weren't passing her on trail anymore, this could have been a whole different story. So I always hike with my Garmin InReach just in case something like this happens. So the 911 call went through at 1:45 p.m. Where she was relatively close to the AMC Greenleaf Hut, so a couple of the crew members from there were able to hike warm clothing and a sleeping bag to her because she was getting really cold. I believe the temp was in the 30s, so it was freezing, but the wind was 60 to 80 miles an hour, and I feel like that is what makes it unbearable. So she must have been freezing. These crew members got to her at 5, so she was up there for hours before she got that sleeping bag. And then an hour after the crew got to her, the team of 25 rescuers got to her around 6 o'clock. To her, that probably felt like a really long time to be stuck up on that ridge, but I feel like in the grand scheme of things, getting hurt at 1:45 and then having rescuers get to you at 6 while you're up on the ridge, that far away, I think is pretty good compared to what it could be. There's been times where rescuers have taken a whole day to get to someone because of how remote they are, or the weather is really bad. There's times where the conditions are so bad that rescuers can't even get on the hike. These search and rescue volunteers are coming from everywhere to help, and from what I've heard in the Whites, the traffic was really bad, especially in Franconia Ridge where this happened. The highway gets down to one lane and it gets pretty congested. So they started carrying her down off of the mountain at 6:20. And I believe the whole process to get her off the mountain back to the parking lot took 7 hours. This group of volunteers would take turns. They took a break at the hut, but everyone was safe. They got her down. She was able to get checked out. I believe all worked out fine. But this is just one rescue that was happening. Like I said, I think there were 7 that happened this weekend. So there could have been a rescue at the same time in a different part of the state. So just like a huge shout out to these volunteers who just at any second could leave what they're doing and go help these people off of the mountain. Sometimes it's a complete accident when someone gets hurt. You twist an ankle, you can't help it. But sometimes people are doing stupid stuff. So just keep that in mind. If you hike these mountains, be as prepared as you can. All this information I got from this rescue was from the press release, so I will link that press release in the description so you can read it for yourself. I hope I got all the details right. But again, no shame to this lady. Things happen. I hike Franconia Ridge by myself. It could have very much well have been me who twisted my ankle up there. I think it was a twisted ankle, I'm not sure exactly what the injury was, but anyways, just wanted to share that story. It could have been a lot worse, but I'm glad everything worked out fine. So yeah, the amount of rescues that happened in the Whites this past weekend, the overcrowded trails, the people stopping on the side of the highway and getting out of their cars to take pictures of the leaves, like so much happened. It just kind of blew my mind every time I saw a new news article pop up while I was at work at the sandwich fair all weekend. But yeah, this was a fun video to kind of recap the weekend. Let me know if you have any experiences from Columbus Day weekend. If you were hiking in New Hampshire, how did it go? I'd love to hear. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. See you in the next one. Bye.